And welcome to Cruising with Kayfabe. I'm Mongo.
I'm Emily.
In today's episode, we're going to do a deep dive in probably one of the best men's rivalry in all of wrestling. We already did the best women's rivalry in All About Mariah. Cheap plug, check that episode out on YouTube. So now we're going to do the best men's rivalry, Blood and Gold, Hangman and Swerve, The Path to Redemption. So I know Emily is a big fan of Hangman and Swerve. I know you guys are a big fan of Hangman and Swerve. I mean, we teased the episode. We had at least 3 people on Twitter and 3 people on Facebook say, yeah, we should do it. So you know what? Let's deep dive in this rivalry.
So I actually thought that this started way sooner than it did. I was shook when I realized that this didn't even start until 2023 and September.
Yeah, I mean, really, it started on the heels of All In. 2023, Darby Allin and Swerve had the infamous coffin match. Swerve comes right out of the gate and he confronts Hangman. So essentially, the first Dynamite after All In, Swerve comes out and decides he's going to confront Hangman, and he wants to get himself in the title picture. And he figures, I'm going to go after Hangman since you don't have the spot. I mean, since you don't have that spot anymore, and you are getting fat and lazy, it's my time to shine. So he kind of comes out and shows his true colors that Hangman's just happy to be here. He's fat, dumb, and happy. He signed his new contract, but it's Swerve's time now.
Yeah, he's tired of seeing people that, feel like they were fed with a silver spoon in the company.
And he very famously says, if I had the same opportunities you had, I'd be AEW's first black champion. So kind of foreshadowing what would happen later on, but he wasn't too happy that Hangman seemed to waste his opportunities.
Yeah, and Swerve has so much heart when it comes to wrestling. It's really incredible to watch his development in AEW.
It really is. And I mean, when he first came in 2022 and he had that suit and tie and, Shane Strickland fresh out of WWE, you were like, oh, I can't wait to see where he goes. And he had a great year and a half before all this happened.
Everything really compiled, small but steady.
It did. I mean, that Swerve in Our Glory run really showed his vindictiveness. I know we've talked about it before, but when he broke Daddy Ass's fingers, when the Acclaimed rivalry and he basically had him kidnapped, it showed his sadistic side. And I didn't think he would get more crazier, but we find out he will.
Nick Wayne was still a baby.
Oh my God. The way him and Era Fox just bloodied him up and beat him up at his own gym. And again, both Seattle pride and everything with Darby, it really showed he could go to a dark place. And it almost seemed like he wanted Hangman to go to a dark place, which I'm sure now in hindsight, he probably kind of regrets.
I can't imagine there not being regret with how far he truly pushed Hangman. And now, I mean, we'll get there, but I feel like we're on the rise. The sun has set.
I wouldn't say the sun is set quite yet. I think the fire is always going to burn. I think there's always going to be something stoking those flames, maybe rising from the ashes, but the ashes had to get there somehow.
True. I guess we should start with where it all began.
Yeah. So like I said, it started in September 6, 2023. Swerve came out and confronts Hangman and basically says, I didn't have the opportunities you have. You've wasted it. You signed a new contract. You built this company with your friend. I've done everything. If I had those same opportunities, I would be champion. And Hangman kind of was insulted and he walked away. And then as he was walking away, Swerve says, oh, good. Have your wife and kids see you walk away another time. And Hangman pauses and he turns around and he kind of restrains himself, but then he goes in. So Swerve already got under his skin. That first promo, he got under his skin. And he talked about wanting to light a fire in him. And then Swerve and Hangman would kind of have a back and forth for a little bit. You would have Swerve and Prince Nana coming out the next week, and he would double down against Hangman again. He's like, listen, you had every opportunity in the world. You failed. You failed the company. You failed yourself. You failed the fans. If he had the opportunities, he would be the face of AEW. And then a week later after that, you have Hangman responding back. He's earned everything. Swerve's done nothing. He's done nothing to earn it. Hangman earned it. He climbed the top of that mountain in 2021. He had heartbreak in 2023. But then it would all collide at the contract signing because now they're on the path to their very first match at WrestleDream. But then they would have a volatile contract signing.
They would. And we noticed a lot of foreshadowing in these first 3 weeks. Swerve is constantly calling him out.
He's constantly calling him out. And then what did he say specifically to Hangman? Because Hangman started to kind of get passionate over the weeks leading up to this contract signing.
He said, "I've been really impressed by the fire you've been showing the last couple of weeks."
So 3 weeks in, they talked about lighting a fire under Hangman, making Hangman earn his respect. Swerve is the man. And it really led heavily on Hangman. Hangman was doubting himself.
And Swerve was already telling him, it's too late.
Yeah, he said it's too late. You can't turn back. The fans turned on you. He was a heel, and the fans were already chanting, whose house? Swerve's house. And the cocky Swerve really showed when him laughing at that contract signing. But then a little Hangman started to break. He stabbed him with the pen as he goes to sign. So I don't know what it is, but if you sign a contract with Swerve, it's going to be in blood, whether his forehead, whether you stab him in the hand. Contract signings and Swerve always end bad for him.
So do staple guns.
And there's a lot of staple guns in this rivalry,
There's
too.
a lot of staple guns, guys. I counted 7.
I lost
used by
count.
Swerve alone.
Right? And it just, you would think the way this rivalry started, they would already go that way, but no, they would want to go to Tacoma, to WrestleDream, you know, Swerve saying, you don't know what it's like in Seattle. But being in Seattle, there was one thing in the promo that led up to this match in the promo package, as well as the contract signing. Hangman talked about how there's been a dark cloud over him. He came back, he reformed the Elite, and there's a dark cloud, and it's always raining. And Swerve just leans in and says, it always rains in Seattle. Get used to it, cowboy. Show me what cowboy shit is. And it's just, he seemed to provoke him more and more. And he wanted to bring something out of Hangman. And this first match, I think they did. They didn't, get bloody hardcore yet, but it was a war. They were knocking each other around. There was a dead eye on the apron. There was multiple swerve stomp on the apron. They threw each other into the ring posts. Swerve was trying to break his arm the entire match. And then he hit him with Prince Nana's headband, kind of got the win after two house calls. So he took it to another level and cheated to win. So Hangman kind of felt cheated, but he lost that first match to Swerve, and he goes backstage and he's holding his arm. He's like, I just need to nurse his arm. I need to rehab. I need to think of things. He may have won, but he didn't win the right way. And Swerve was riding high because that first match, he's already got the first victory on Hangman. He's already on the path to the world championship. And it's crazy to think about. That was the first ever WrestleDream too. So not only was it in the Seattle, Tacoma area, it was the first WrestleDream. And who would know then, I should say, not only would we get the debut of Copeland, but we'd also get probably the start to one of the best rivalries in AEW. Like every pay-per-view in AEW has some sort of implication on the future. And it's wild when you go think about one of the things they talked about was how Hangman wasn't even at All Out. And think about where this feud's going to go. So they planted the seeds for everything from the very first moment they talked to the end of this feud. So we would start leading into a little bit more Hangman kind of going down the rabbit hole and going crazy here, because he would come back after WrestleDream and he would have some issues with Swerve still. He would attack him with a chair. He didn't feel like he had finished business. He would see Swerve cheat against Daniel Garcia using the same techniques he did, using the headband, taking out Garcia. Hangman didn't like it. He was upset. But then the ultimate act of betrayal, October 18th, 2023, Swerve breaks into Hangman's fucking house.
Looks over that crib.
It just
cuts one of the craziest promos.
And he was just taunting him the entire time. He called him a cowboy living on the ranch. He called him a coward. And he's just leaning over the crib maniacally, and Nana just staring there, knowing that it's just going to destroy Hangman. This is the first time it really started distracting Hangman from his normal matches, his normal mission. He was now inside his head because he broke the ultimate trust of any father. Someone breaks into your house, is in your child's room, even if your kid's not there, that safety's been violated. That feeling of security is gone. And to see a man that you just went to war with, it one up it even more. Not only was he taunting you, not only is he making fun of you, now he's breaking and entering. So like, he's doing everything he can to kind of be the Bane to hit the Batman. He's not trying to just break him physically. He's trying to break him mentally. To quote that Bane, I wasn't sure what would break first, your mind or your body. And he clearly was trying to do both.
Yeah, and that again is something that continues. They break each other in every way possible.
Yeah, I remember there was a very famous promo afterwards. Hangman vowed revenge. He said that this is not going to happen. This is really what showed Hangman starting to just get that next level maniacal. The one quote that I wrote down that stuck with me is, "You are not the man you think you are. You are a coward." And he just delivered it with such passion and energy. You knew that this next match that was going to happen between them wasn't going to be a normal 1, 2, 3, haha, shake hands. No, this was heading towards a fight.
And this was only after one match, correct?
Correct. It was only after the first pay-per-view match.
So in all these different types of promos, now they've only had one match. Think about that storytelling.
And, they would have a lot of run-ins and they would have a lot of brawls leading up to this, but it's what it ultimately led to is leading to Full Gear and the Texas Death Match, which, let me just tell you, Hangman Texas Death Match was already 1-0 against Jon Moxley. He referenced that to Swerve in the very first promo. So more foreshadowing. He talks about how I beat Jon Moxley in a Texas Death Match. He became the Hangman. Swerve told him, now I'm the Hangman now. I'm going to be the judge, the jury, the executioner. So there was already volatile stakes on the line. So you have to imagine that when this match finally plays out, the raw emotion that happens. Because you have one of AEW's most brutal matches with the blood, the weapons, the emotion, storytelling is peak. You mentioned the staple guns.
Yes. So this match saw...
What do you say, like 5 staples?
Easily 5. I meant staple guns. I have seen Swerve use a staple gun in nearly every match with Hangman.
It was just one of the craziest matches. You had the barbed wire buckshot. You had him hanging Hangman. You had them drinking each other's blood. You had the tribute to Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk. Both men just were destroying each other this whole match, but Swerve came out on top again.
Do you know how he came out on top?
Why don't you tell us how he came out on top?
So we also saw glass and a big sheet of barbed wire attached to a piece of wood with chairs under it. We saw chains being used, and that's how Swerve won. With a chain around Hangman's neck,
and choked
hanging
him out,
him between the ropes, like Hangman did in New Japan to a lot of opponents with his noose.
He did, and he kind of a callback to the Moxley death match. So, you have this brutal match. The injuries come from it. A little bit happens in December. They're still going after each other. They're still wanting to destroy each other. In the meantime, you have World's End happen. Samoa Joe wins the world title from MJF. MJF got hurt at Full Gear. So now there's a target on Samoa Joe's back. Both Swerve and Hangman are clamoring for that title, but they look at each other, and Hangman says to Swerve, "That's not your title, and I'll see you never win that title again." So Hangman's whole mission at this point is to make sure Swerve does not win that title. I don't want to say it again. I apologize. I jumped ahead. Is to not win that title. He will make damn sure of it. And everything about this lead up to Revolution was just back and forth mindfuckery. You had Hangman completely breaking. You had him faking an injury with a crutch and him saying, "I can't be in this match," and attacking Swerve. You had him focused on nothing but Swerve. Everything he was doing, every match, he wasn't himself anymore. He really started to turn. He wasn't full heel yet, but he was really leaning towards the darkness.
And they ended up having a match on Dynamite.
And they ended up tying, so there was no
It was
win.
a time limit draw, 30 minutes.
Hangman basically said he should have won. So again, more of that, I don't want to say breaking point, because at this point now, he's 0-2 to his rival. People are starting to cheer Swerve. Swerve's really starting to gain popularity. Also, cheap plug, we went on the cruise. This was really when Swerve was getting over with the crowd more. This is the second Jericho cruise. People were starting to get behind him. The push for him to be champion was real. People could see it. Revolution planted the seeds. Swerve and Samoa Joe. But Hangman was right there. And when Joe said he's going to kick both their asses, he doesn't care. But he knew that they were against each other, and he could take advantage of that. So this whole build to the triple threat was great because Hangman said it should be a one-on-one match, but it's a triple threat match. So he even planted the seeds that it's not fair that Swerve's in this match because everything he's done to Hangman, he's not paying a penalty for.
Not just that, but it's not fair to Swerve either. Swerve was 2-0 to Hangman. Should he have been the only one in that match on the counter of that? And also, now these men have been in the ring together in singles action 3
times. They know each other.
Exactly. That knowledge is good and bad, depends on who you are. And they can utilize that to fuel everything that they're going to go through. And unfortunately, they also couldn't forget that with their match with Samoa Joe. They couldn't put themselves aside, and it really cost both of them.
It did, but being there, we were there live for this one, so we really got to see and feel the emotions. So as we were talking about the build to this matchup, you have Hangman calling Swerve a fake leader and calling him out, saying, just because the crowd's behind you, you don't deserve it. Again, in February, about a week before the pay-per-view, saying, I can't go to this pay-per-view, and he attacks him with a crutch, basically saying, I was playing you all along. Obviously, I'm in this match. So Revolution happening. So Revolution comes, the crowd goes crazy for Swerve. And even if you watch in the video, you can hear it. I've never been in a crowd that has cheered that loud for a heel. Because at this time, Swerve really was still a heel. He wasn't a full-blown babyface, just like Hangman was still a babyface. But this match, and we said it during our review, a double turn happens. They both switch.
It was incredible to be there, to feel the energy in the room, just everything about that. It was almost as good as Ospreay's debut.
It was, and I look back and I'm just so glad we got to see a part of this feud because not only was the build fantastic to it, but the match itself, you have Samoa Joe. So normally in a triple threat match, you got to team up, but they're not teaming up. So Samoa Joe is getting all these opportunities to blindside them because you'd have Hangman tunnel vision on Swerve the entire match to the point Samoa Joe, like you said, took advantage that after Hangman got hit by a house call, he got put in a coquina clutch and choked out because both both Hangman and Swerve are so focused on each other, they forgot about the biggest, baddest threat in the ring. One of the most iconic things I remember from this match is when Swerve's laying on the ground, Hangman's kind of staring at him, but he's lingering. He's just lingering, looking at Swerve on the ground outside the ring. He hits the buckshot. He sees Swerve. Swerve comes in. He does the house call. And that's just when the rest of it happens and Swerve chokes him out. But it's just that moment of he hesitated. If Hangman didn't hesitate and focus all of his energy on Swerve, he could have won that title at Revolution. So just seeing the subtle little nuances that they told in the match of, I don't give a shit about winning. I give a shit about hurting you. Because again, they've gone to war. They had that first match. Swerve wins kind of by cheating, which it was cheating. That second match where they beat the living fuck out of each other. Swerve wins again. And now you have a match where he gets choked out and he taps out. So Swerve doesn't lose. Hangman gets choked out. Hangman goes crazy, attacks officials, gets suspended in kayfabe. But now Swerve's on the rise. Swerve earns Joe's respect, builds a feud, signs his contract in blood, but then he dethrones Samoa Joe, become the first ever AEW Black Champion, wins his first title. He's on top of the world. Hangman's pissed. He comes back and he's just like, what the actual fuck? You guys are cheering him. He broke into my house, guys. We had to fucking move. We had to leave. My family like he's beyond anxious Millennial Cowboy now. He's crashed out Millennial Cowboy.
He just can't believe that the fans turned on him so quickly.
And they cheer Swerve. And I think that's
so relatable. When you look at the whole story with Swerve and Hangman is the more relatable one. But Swerve has every right to what he's not quite doing, but doing as well.
But Hangman wasn't wrong. If you really go back and watch this build, even when it was live,
to this point, he was not. He hasn't crossed the line
yet. He will. But think about that. Think about that for a minute. You come back after being suspended, and the new world champion is someone who broke into your house, who choked you out with a chain, who destroyed your body, who's insulted you, who's been nothing but a thorn in your fucking side. and he's getting love and admiration that you don't get anymore. So I don't think it was so much the fans turning on Hangman as he felt, how can you, the same people who wanted me to be your Hangman, how can you cheer for this fucking asshole? And like you said, it's so relatable because he's gone through literal mental, physical war with him. He's champion. Now his psychosis is just, it's nothing else. He's gone. He spirals out for a few minutes. You have the Owen going on. So he figures he's going to enter the Owen. He's going to win that title. And it's Swerve's a champion. Good. Bonus. I'm going to steal that title from you. Everything was involved with Swerve. He didn't care about Double or Nothing. He didn't care about the Blood and Guts. The Blood and Guts match, his whole time, he focused on Swerve.
Very true.
He cost the Elite that match. So
I actually have a few notes from that one. By a few, I mean the most I took all day. So Swerve created a team of misfits. He has the Acclaimed minus Daddy Ass, Darby, and Mark Briscoe. And they go head to head against the Elite with Hangman Adam Page, the Young Bucks, Jack Perry, and Okada. Now, this match lasts almost an entire hour. Hangman actually attacks Swerve before the match can even start.
Yeah, and he's basically holds him up against the cage, and he's holding the title, and he's just bashing him with the title.
Yeah, well, he's handcuffed.
And
it's wild.
When he's in the match, he's attacking him during the match. Poor Jack Perry's getting strapped up to the cage. Darby's pouring gasoline, threatening to burn Jack Perry. Gets the Bucks to submit and give him a title match. But again, Hangman screws the Bucks. So in this time frame, they lost the Ring of Honor trios titles because Hangman walked out on the Bucks and they got destroyed by the Mogul Embassy. Hangman's cost them the match at Blood and Guts. So, the Young Bucks takeover really failed because Hangman didn't join them. He was so hyper focused on Swerve that he basically was like, fuck you guys, fuck you to the Elite. And he was tunnel vision. So he started focusing on the Owen and Jay White and everything ahead of him, but he would come up short in the Owen and he would go crazy. He was mad. He couldn't believe it. You have Swerve going against Bryan Danielson, getting ready to go to All In. You are no longer going to All In. You have a summer of just spiraling Hangman. So he takes another shot. He enters the Casino Battle Royal at All In because he knows if he wins, Swerve's champion, he's going to get him at All Out. He's going to get his title shot against Swerve. And he loses the Casino Battle Royal. And the complete deterioration of Swerve to this point is something that Hangman is something you have to see. His character arc, the summer of 2024 was probably some of the best character work Hangman did. Leading into one of the craziest situations in September that I have ever seen in my entire life. We're getting ready to have another match. Swerve has lost his title. He has nothing to do for All Out. Hangman's celebrating. But what does Hangman do? That we talked about it even for our Christmas TV viewing. What does Hangman do? He burns. So
Swerve goes on to talk about how he just bought his childhood home in Seattle.
Such a touching moment.
How proud he is to have this home
that his mom lost.
And now you've got Hangman sitting outside it in a recliner, lit on fire.
And just drinking whiskey. House is going up in flames. Swerve is basically dropping to his knees emotional. After a year of war and just mind games, Swerve is dropping to his knees, realizing, what the fuck have I created? I created a monster. Because now Hangman has reached his breaking point. All fucks are gone. He has lost everything. He went from 2023 Hangman, where he was, okay, look, I had a bad year and a half. I won the title. I lost the title, to a rivalry with Swerve that Swerve awakened something he didn't know. And he did things that just pushed him to his limits. And now what does Hangman do? Well, you broke into my house. Fine. I'll set your house on fucking fire. Like that, just the visual imagery of that house burning, him sipping the whiskey, and Dynamite just goes off the air, and Swerve is just a wreck.
Broken.
I don't think I've ever seen such a cooler closing shot of a Dynamite in my entire life.
Pretty close to Kenny leaving to TNA.
That is very fair. I just think that we knew that when All Out would happen, it really was All Out. And I love that AEW played it up. They talked about how they're no longer going to sanction this match because they've seen what these two men have done to each other. You had Hangman even interrupting Swerve on the indies. You had Swerve taunting him. You had Hangman, like, they kept one-upping each other to the point that in AEW and Kayfabe, they're like, listen, we don't want to be responsible for what you two fucking crazy guys do to each other in this cage. And I can tell you this, when I watched that match the very first time, I did not think it would go there. And it went places in this match that I'm still almost mentally scarred from.
The first match they had was pretty brutal. Like
the Texas Death Match?
Yeah, that Texas Death Match was pretty brutal. We saw Vampire Hangman. Things that we didn't know were a thing in wrestling. Like Hangman was pulling out. And now you've got this match that, I mean...
You have cinder blocks, you have tacks, you have a callback, and one of my favorite callbacks. So in that Texas Death Match, Hangman stapled his kids' finger paintings to Swerve's head. In this match, Swerve staples his family pictures to Hangman's head, the same family pictures he showed in that video when he bought the house. You have the cinder block where Hangman's getting dropped on his back and getting scraped apart. You have plunder galore, more barbed wire attacks, Swerve taking the staples and laughing about it, stapling himself.
Like, and then what does Hangman pull out?
He pulls out a fucking syringe.
No, the piece of wood from the house.
The charred piece of wood that he starts stabbing him with? Yeah.
Yeah, and they go back and forth stabbing each other with this piece of wood from the burned house.
And just absolute chaos. Pulls out the syringe, incapacitates him, and then the final chair shake, he just wraps the chair around his skull. And he passes out. The ref calls to, for safety, Swerve, stop the match. He stands at the top of the ramp and he debates. This is the storytelling I loved. He debates, should I go back to the ring? And I want to ask you before we kind of move on to, more of this feud, do you think he was going to go back to inflict more harm, or do you think he was going to go check on him?
Inflict more harm? There is no, going back from this feud anymore. They've met up recently. They are still enemies. They are...
Well, before you get into the met up recently, we're going to talk about that in a second.
Yeah, no, they are forever intertwined. I don't think that there's a way to come back from this.
I mean, the man, like you said, the man they drank each other's blood. I feel like they are blood brothers in the literal sense. But part of me wonders that subtle little twitch where he was like, should I stay or should I go? Not to quote that song. Part of me wonders if that was on purpose, like, I've gone too far. Should I go or should I stay? And I like that he didn't go back to the ring because he kind of he saw the path of his destruction. He knew that after a year, he finally won. He finally did something to Swerve that Swerve's been doing to him for a year. He beat him to his limit. He destroyed him mentally and physically. He gave him a receipt. You want to break in my house? I'm going to ruin yours. You want to beat me to a pulp? I'm going to beat you worse. He went to places that he even says he did not want to go to. And the spiral really starts to turn because Swerve will be out for a little bit. Hangman would kind of start looking at his next journey. And they really wouldn't talk much. AEW was very smart. They kept them apart. But I mean, this year-long feud, you can't just rush them back together.
No.
I mean, again, you don't want to run a match back like, say, November Full Gear. So, they kind of go their own way. You have the rest of the year play out, and then you start getting the teases again. You have a backstage segment, and Hangman's looking for Swerve, and then you have another backstage segment where Swerve sees him, and they're just yelling at each other. And like you said, they're still enemies, but there's a bigger issue that came into play in November. So obviously, we talked about All In, Bryan Danielson winning the title. Well, after All Out, the events of WrestleDream, we have a new champion. Jon Moxley destroys Bryan Danielson. The Death Riders are born. A new takeover is happening. So now you have the Elite disappear. So Swerve's been abandoned. I mean, Hangman's been abandoned. Swerve is now kind of intertwined with the Death Rider stuff. So Hangman's kind of on an island just doing his own thing. So when they have those little interactions, again, it's this company's under chaos. So now it's almost like it's the enemy of my enemy, but he still doesn't want to forgive Swerve, and Swerve doesn't want to forgive him.
Yeah, Swerve's found this newfound friendship with Willow, and he's got people like Copeland. He's got people like Mark Briscoe all in his corner.
Darby.
He's really gained this
like Team AEW now.
Yeah, you had, when Death Riders first took over, you had Team AEW with all the young kids outside waiting to protect AEW. Now you've got the veterans of AEW.
Well, and that's what I think too was a good subtle way to kind of keep this feud in the back of people's minds. You had Hangman, who didn't really give a shit. He still was so focused on that title, and he was focused on making sure Swerve didn't get that title. And that's what leads into the kind of the beginning of this year. So the reason why they started teasing Swerve and Hangman again, because we would have some pay-per-views where people go up against Death Riders and fail. You had Adam Copeland go up against the Death Riders and fail. Well, someone else wanted to take a shot at post-Revolution. You had Swerve finally getting his rematch a year later, Dynasty, against Jon Moxley. And who would come out first? Hangman. He would come out, and he looked for a slight moment, he looked like he would help Swerve. But then he had his focus on Moxley, because what is his focus on? The world champion. Lights would go out. The Bucks would come back. The Bucks would attack Swerve. Swerve would lose. They would come out the following night on Dynamite, and the Bucks would say, "We did it for you, Hangman. We did it for you, buddy. We don't forget our friends. You said you didn't want Swerve to be champion again, so we did it for you." Now, that was kind of a throwaway line for a while, but really think about, it was only about a month ago they threw this line away. And right around that same time, Swerve and Hangman had another confrontation backstage with a very Star Wars-esque twist, Han Solo, Princess Leia moment here, where they would scream at each other, and you would have them going back and forth. "You broke my house. You burned down my house. You deserved it. I know." Just the iconic Swerve, "I know." Like, he admitted what he did wrong. He didn't say he forgave Hangman. Hangman didn't say he forgave him. But Swerve owned up to the fact that he was a piece of shit. Hangman didn't know what to think. So, and I think that kind of set the trigger in motion to get Hangman to get on his path of redemption, which is what we're seeing now. And that's why I think we want to do this episode, because this feud, this rivalry is so important to this current story. And I don't think it's over.
It's far from over. I think that this is going to be one that we'll be able to see not time and time again. This will be special moments. This will be something that when you need to bring that fire out in Hangman, you're going to kick Swerve in.
Well, here's how it plays out, and here's how it kind of keeps that fire stoking, to use your analogy. So before the, Double or Nothing pay-per-view, we had Hangman and Ospreay having a promo battle in the ring. But what is the first thing Hangman do? "Listen, I went to a dark place last year. My wife doesn't know who I am. My kid doesn't know who I am. I did a lot of bad shit. I don't want to do that. I need to focus. I need to be on my goals. I need redemption. I need to win this for me. I need to be better." His goal is still the title. Now, Swerve is obviously upset about that, because on most recent episode of Dynamite, Swerve comes out after a great anarchy in the arena, after kind of taking care of the Bucks. And he said, "Hangman, we still got something to talk about. Congratulations, you won the title. But remember, you said you were never going to let me win the title again. You got some explaining to do with this footage." He pulls up that footage of the Bucks, where the Bucks say, "Love you, Hangman. We did it for you." And he goes, "Don't you lie to me." And I just love the retort. "Listen, dumbass. If I was going to cost you the title, I would do it to your face." So they're not quite on those terms. But here's how I think this rivalry can really play into the next few months. So we have like 60-something days to All In. You have Hangman going for his redemption. Ospreay trying to play Peacekeeper. Swerve's not having it. So I think we're going to see the Swerve and Ospreay have a match at All In. I think, though, is Hangman, someone said this today, is Hangman the true villain in the story? Did he really orchestrate? Because I don't know if I see that, where they're saying, did he orchestrate all this? And he is secretly working with the Elite. I don't know if I see that, because I feel like he went too far. But what I do see is Swerve finally helping Hangman for the greater good. I see Swerve being the person to deliver a house call or something to Moxley when the Death Riders are done, and reluctantly pulling Hangman and putting him on the side and walking away. I don't see him doing it as like a, I'm going to help you because you're my friend. I seem like I don't want you to win, but I don't want Moxley champion either, to kind of keep that going. And I think it's going to lead, here's my little tinfoil here, to the Bucks versus Hangman and Swerve it all out. I think making them like team together somehow, because I think that way you can still keep that seeds where they don't want to be a team. They don't want to be together. So, but I think it's going to be that reluctant, because that pop it all in when Swerve hits the house call or does something to the Bucks to help Hangman is going to be massive. But you can still keep this feud. You can still keep this in the back of his mind, because think about Hangman and Kenny. They had like a 2-year feud. This one is a 2-year feud. They're not going to just end it.
No, they really can't, because even still, you can go back to Ospreay and Kenny. Even still, you can go back to Cassidy and Ospreay. You can go back to all these different people, just like you'll be able to run this back.
And that's the other thing. There's still some people who are missing. You have Orange Cassidy, who's on the shelf coming back. You have Darby Allin, who should be back by the end of the summer, early fall. So you have people who can be in the picture. You have people who Hangman have wronged in the past. But the only way he's truly going to get redemption is making amends with some of the things he did Swerve. Now, I'm not saying forgive Swerve, but maybe some of the stuff at All Out. Because I don't think he's ever truly going to forgive Swerve, because, again, he broke into my house. But again, you burned his. So at what point is blood for blood never enough? Because what do they say about revenge? An eye for an eye makes the whole world go blind. And with AEW loving their eye patches, who's going to be the next one to wear? Is Swerve going to wear?
No.
So I'm going to ask you, Em, what are your thoughts overall on this feud, from the moment they first talked to that last match where you just are left in awestruck? Like, what do you think about this feud? What are some of your favorite elements about it?
First of all, I know we called Jeremy out quite a bit, but where's my bloody figures?
I mean, we should call him out. God damn.
Aside from that, I think that this saw so much that we just didn't expect time and time again. Cinder blocks used more than one match. I'm sorry. More than once? We shouldn't have even had them once. That was wild. Then you have the cage being cut open and Hangman and Swerve being able to escape the cage and cause chaos. And it almost like gave you hints of what was to come with this year's Anarchy.
And look at
every little piece to this. It was just like time and time again, beautifully put together. And I don't know who is behind this, but please keep writing.
And what I like is the raw emotion both men have in this feud. I love that both men put everything into these characters, into these stories, into these matches. And AEW gets a lot of flack for the gratuitous violence, the bleeding, the entertaining stuff. They get flack for that, but they always get crapped on for not telling a story. But yet, I feel like in the past few years we've done this podcast and done these episodes, we've been able to analyze so many great stories. We opened the show talking about Mariah May and Tony Storm having the best women's. This is probably the best men's story. And do you know who was the best men's story before that? Kenny and Hangman. Hangman's been involved. I'll go out right now. Hot take. Hangman has been involved in 2 of the best men's stories in AEW since their founding.
Agree.
Because I know a lot of people don't like Hangman, and it is what it is. You have the right to like you, but you have to admire he's a passionate motherfucker. And he has changed his character the right way. They figured out his character was, I don't want to say stale, because I feel like that's such an overused word, but it needed refreshing. It needed updating. And I liked, because Hangman even got called out for his gear and his wardrobe early in the feuds when Swerve was like, you haven't even bought new gear in a year.
So I think something important to look at with Hangman is that he is around our age and he is so fucking relatable. The anxious millennial cowboy is real. Like, you look at during the pandemic, what was Hangman doing?
Drinking.
And like, that was how he made it through the pandemic. Like, he would take other people's drinks before the pandemic. And he was like, I wouldn't say like the party guy, but he was like
the lovable cowboy.
Yeah, like he was the guy that you saw at the bonfire that you wanted to hang out with and drink a beer with. He was like the Luke Bryan of wrestling at the moment. And then you put together a further storyline, and you've got now Hangman has his family that he's caring for and his wife that he cares so much about. And it's just, again, relatable to our age range. And then he thinks everyone's against him. Again, relatable to our age. It's just every little detail.
I mean, the first part you said was anxious. He's anxiety ridden, and now he's going out there and he's going against the norm. He went against the norm. He evolved. I mean, the music evolved, the mustache evolved, everything.
Sadly,
evolved.
the hair. Ugh, the hair is so bad.
His gear. I mean, he went from having butterfly jeans to having some of the coolest gear. He just like that music change had Swerve's fucking house on fire as his entrance. We didn't even talk about it, but during the Texas Death Match, he didn't even have his full entrance. The music starts. He fucking just runs to the ring and starts attacking Swerve. Like the subtleties and then the in-ring psychology of all these matches. Both men trying to incapacitate their best shots. So you have Swerve who kept saying, you have cowboy shit. You have the buckshot. I have the kill shot. Can you do a kill shot? Can you end it? And Hangman eventually had to say, okay, I have to do what it takes to end this man. I don't have to just pin him. I have to end him. And that subtle psychology of building up that first match. Okay, you cheated to win. That second match. Okay, you out crazied me in the death match. To that third match where, I stepped up. You weren't expecting me to go that far. To, oh my God, I can't believe I went that far. Like, and then you have Swerve who, let's be real. He was elevated from, maybe one day he'll be champion to, I can't wait till he's champion again. Both men went from already being respected and well-loved to even more, to being top tier talent in AEW. We talked about our Pillars episode and we mentioned that both men are foundational members because of what this feud has done. Swerve put himself on the map, put himself in serious title contention because of this feud. Hangman was so over at Double or Nothing because everyone wants to see his redemption. And I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. His moment essentially was stolen after he lost his title and all the bullshit that happened with, Brawl Out and everything else. Hangman was kind of like the untalked about, like not victim, but casualty of that. Like he did the right thing. He did business. He put the other person over and he kind of fizzled out for a while and he's had to bust his ass. And this feud really showed why Tony Khan has trust in him. This feud showed why Tony Khan has trust in Swerve because they went out there to entertain. They went out there to tell a story. We're doing a whole episode because it was one of my favorite feuds and you guys wanted to hear it. And that's what pro wrestling is. When you have this beautiful feud that you can watch and you can enjoy the moments and you can go back and rewatch the matches. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot how brutal that was. And when you see AEW rewards you for paying attention. That's why I love AEW. They reward you for watching.
And we've talked about Hangman's growth, but Swerve came in basically not like this at all. He was not very likable because he was feuding with his tag team partner. And then he's like throwing, was it Darby around everywhere? He beat up a kid, Nick Wayne. You've got him just completely unlikable.
From sadistic heel to icon.
Yeah. Now, since probably he won that championship, you can say like, damn, he's really won the crowd over.
I'm telling you, that cruise, 2024 cruise.
2023.
2024 cruise. It's the year he won the title. His second cruise, not the first.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That cruise, because the 2023 cruise, he has well, but he I don't think the crowd was as much into it. That 2024 cruise, even Brian was like, man, I love this Swerve. His energy is infectious. And I think that double turn at Revolution, because I mean, he was a heel taking on the cruise, but he was super over. So we knew that that face turn was coming. And that turn at Revolution was everything for Swerve. Now, again, I like it because if you look at the dynamics of Swerve and Hangman, they're not really true white meat baby faces, and they're not true asshole chicken shit heels. They're kind of both in that gray zone, that gray area right now where one wrong thing is going to set him back. I mean, look, Swerve is super pissed off still that was, as he said, collusion. Did it happen to him? Did he get fucked out of his title? So is that going to be something in the back of my mind? Is he going to screw Hangman over it all? And are they going to have one more match? I don't know. And that's what's the beautiful thing of this feud. We talked about what my fantasy booking is, but what's your fantasy booking? Where do you see this feud going?
I want to see somehow, some way. I want to see him screw over Hangman, but I also want to see Hangman still win that, if that makes sense.
And I think that's the beauty of pro wrestling, is there's so many endings that could happen that'll be, okay, I didn't think of that, because the way they've told this story, it could literally go 50-50.
Like after the own heart tournament, I want to see Hangman take this championship from Moxley, because what is the one thing Hangman's been saying he wants to do?
Bring back that big, beautiful belt, baby.
Take it out of that briefcase. Finally, somebody gets it. So
what if he opens the briefcase
and nothing's in there?
No, inside is just Swerve's new shoes.
Oh my god.
And Swerve's holding the belt
and
Swerve's holding the belt in the distance.
I would love that.
See, like, there's so many ways.
I think that we see this run back at Full Gear at the least. I think we could see it at All Out. I think we could see this literally anytime after All In. I want to see one more at the least this year.
And I think that's a great thing, even if it's not one-on-one. You know, even if they tease it, even if it's no, listen, before you said, because what can they do? They've already done that cage match. You can't just have a singles match that's going to make sense. You can't do another hardcore match. You don't want to do Iron Man. You don't want to do, so you have to plant the seeds to make that match make sense. Because if they just do another one-on-one match, how are they going to top the 3 matches they've been for? Those other matches are going to be in your head. And with only a year, I think you can't do another singles match just yet, unless you do some fuckery where there's not really, where they have a match where the lights come out and someone returns and it screws them over. So we get teased with it. That's the thing. They got to tease it. So are you
saying that
like Wembley 2026 moment?
So what you're saying is we could see Hangman and Ospreay feud for a minute. We could see someone else take the title and then bring it back to these two.
That's what I'm thinking. Is I could see someone like Darby taking the title off Hangman. And I could see, how Swerve and his friendship could be the catalyst. Like, what you set Darby up because you thought I was with the Elite. Like, there's so many ways this can go. And I feel like we could do a whole episode just on fantasy booking. So I don't want to stay on this topic too long. But there's so much potential in this feud. And that's why it's one of my favorite feuds.
If Darby doesn't come out and say, I climbed Everest and all you did was go to Brokeback, I would die. Right there. Heart stop. I would be dying laughing.
That is you've been thinking of that for a while.
No,
that does not just come out of the old cranium.
That just popped in.
I'm sure that's what won't go there, but yeah, that's an interesting quote because your favorite Taylor Swift ex-boyfriend's in that movie, isn't he?
Yes.
But no, let us know in the comments what you think of this feud. It's one of our favorite feuds for a reason. Make sure you do typical like, subscribe at Cruising With Kayfabe on all of our socials. Help us get to 17,000. We're so close on Facebook. You can follow us on X. I've been trying to post there a little bit more. Thankfully, it's not as bad. Once I figured out the block feature, it's been really helpful.
It's Mongo on TikTok's been pretty fun lately.
Tried it, but gotta love the trolls there. And yeah, we're really trying to.
We need more like an AEW fan base on TikTok.
And, let us know, what episode you want to hear next. We have some ideas. Live streaming might be on the back burner temporarily just because we're dealing with some good old tech issues. I don't want to say anything that's going to get us in trouble. But I think that we have a lot of good plans coming up. We have a lot of good ideas for episodes. So let us know if there's episodes you want us to hear deep dive. We'd love to deep dive. We have means to watch most matches. If you tell me it's an All Japan match from 1997, I probably won't be able to watch it. But if you give me, say, a match from 2010 where I can find it, okay. So just remember, as long as I can access it, we can access the match, we can, deep dive into it, because it's kind of hard to do an episode if we can't see it, because we're not critics. We're just going to watch a 90-second clip online and give an opinion.
No, we actually enjoy a match. So I think that's a good challenge for you guys, is give us another any two people that you want to see us really play around with the storylines and see what we can find. I think Chris and Willow would be kind of fun to do.
I think so too, because especially with their feud, looks like it's about to also reignite. Speaking of fire, so yeah, definitely let us know in the comments. Let us know what you think. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow along, all that other fun stuff. Let's do those 5-star frog splash of the review. And remember, until next time, always
keep the kayfabe.